In Cage Match, we take two influential leaders of the world and make them go head-to-head, toe-to-toe. In a real cage match series, we see which leaders come out on top when it comes to money, power, and politics to see who will be the last leader standing! In money, we compare the country's leaders' personal net worth against the net worth of the people they lead. The smaller the gap, the better they do. We rank power based on the leader's individual power over their people. And then we compare their military strength in terms of their army, navy, and air force. In politics, we focus on the People's Happiness Index under the leader's reign, their approval rating, and where their support comes from. On one side of the ring, with around 18 years as president of Russia, we have Vladimir Putin. His opponent, newer to the game but no less ready to fight, Volodymyr Zelenskyy, the former comedian, currently acting as the sixth and current Ukrainian president since 2019. How do they match up? Just wait and see! Money. When talking about money, we can say Ukraine is standing up in the presence of giants. Russia's GDP per capita is about $10,126.72 per person. Against Ukraine's is just $3,726.93. However, this is not where the comparison ends. Despite Russia's GDP per capita being higher than Ukraine's, Zelensky's net worth is much more closely aligned to that of his people. With some suspiciously modest claims, it's been said that Putin is reportedly one of the richest men in the world, with a net worth of potentially around $200 billion. His assets include an 80-square-foot apartment in St. Petersburg, two expensive Soviet-era cars, and more. A lot of his fortune is tied to those with close ties with him, hidden in a network of offshore bank accounts. There is a nearly $2 billion offshore trail that leads back to Putin, but that money isn't part of his official net worth, which is 2018 on the Kremlin website and was placed around $135,000 between his salary, military pension, savings interest, and investment gains. These numbers don't quite match up compared to just a handful of the Russian president's assets. This is compared to Zelensky's net worth of $20 million. His assets reported include a Mercedes-Benz G-Class and Tesla Model S, and expensive watches, as well as his main assets seem to include his 25% stake in Kvartal 95, a collection of companies producing comedy shows, though he's since transferred his shares to partners while he's president. He'll likely gain them back when he exits office. In 2020, Zelenskyy submitted a wealth declaration to the National Agency for the Prevention of Corruption in Ukraine, which outlined his total annual income as $623,000. In contrast, the underdog comes in on the other side of the ring with a mixed emerging economy that has struggled since the 2008 Great Recession hit the world stage. However, since Zelenskyy took the presidency in 2019, the economy has bounced back with solid agriculture and good domestic consumption at a growth rate of 3.2%. Their agricultural sector bolsters their growing economy. But Ukraine also has good natural gas, coal, iron, manganese, magnesium, mercury, nickel, salt, oil, kaolin, sulfur, titanium, and timber resources. However, the scale of their GDP holds them back, putting them 55th on the world stage. In terms of wealth and money, there's no competition between the two countries. While Russia does have a higher per capita GDP, when comparing Putin's fortune to Zelensky's, the Ukrainian president's holdings are much more closely aligned with that of his people. He has more modest assets and transparency regarding when and where they came from than Putin's shadow assets and massive wealth. While Putin makes 2 out of 5 vanilla scoops, Zelenskyy surges ahead with 4 out of 5 vanilla scoops, with a strong start for an emerging power on the world stage. Power. The two stand up better against each other, going hit for hit together. Putin signed laws allowing him to stay in power until 2036, 2 additional 6-year terms. He sits on top of what is referred to as a power pyramid. This is a network containing rival powers which are bound to political patrons and personal connections. These connections weave together state agencies, non-government agencies, and political parties. Putin has no party affiliations. He's an independent politician. Zelenskyy, on the other hand, has recently hit the 3-year mark of his presidency. In Ukraine, a presidential term lasts 5 years, with 2 consecutive terms as a maximum. This makes him a fledgling fighter in the ring, new to the presidency and power. He was elected in 2019 democratically, backed by the Servant of the People's Party, a liberal pro-European party formed in 2017. With power, it's hard to skip over the military. On one side of the ring, we have Russia, with the second most powerful military in the world, right behind the US. They have a budget of $45 billion and over 900,000 active personnel, with 2 million more in reserves. It's made stronger with 12,500 tanks, 60,000 military vehicles, 1,391 planes, and 821 helicopters. This is up against Ukraine's forces, which have an almost 10 times smaller budget and only 196,000 active troops, with 900,000 reservists. Despite them being unevenly matched, their budgets being so far apart, and other limitations, Ukraine is holding strong against forces in much of Ukraine against Russian aggression. They have just 6,500 tanks, 7,000 armored combat vehicles, 1,500 combat aircraft, and 250 ships. This is to say, they know how to use their forces more efficiently, with more success despite the disparity. Power is a mix of personal power and the circumstances surrounding it. Putin may have time on his side, able to stay in power an additional 12 years due to his power network and new laws in play. But a democratically elected leader always falls a bit short in this respect. Putin punches down there, sending Zelenskyy to the ground. Given the current conflict, it's easy to compare their militaries against each other. Zelenskyy's Ukrainian forces are dwarfed by the power and size of Russia's. However, it seems size is not everything, as Ukraine holds up against all odds. While Zelenskyy has the potential to go far, his presidency is still new. However, he's held up against insane forces, earning him 4 out of 5 chocolate scoops. This ties with Vladimir Putin's 4 out of 5, earned by the sheer volume and total control. Toe-to-toe like this, we'll have to see how they duke it out on the next one. Politics. Russian politics are notoriously opaque, making it difficult to quantify how it goes. Over the years, Putin has used threats and navigated conflicts with overt force and violence. He's antagonistic at best on the world stage, and has always seemed to play by his own rules. His approval rating has bottomed out with a 20-year global low, though from within sitting at around 88%. Punching back hard, Zelenskyy has had a major uptick in popularity, both in confidence in winning the war and his leadership. Coming into office, he mended the fences and tamed the fractious politics among some of his scandals. During Russia's aggression, he stayed in Kyiv, refusing outside help to leave. His motivational live streams and uploads have kept people going, despite the difficult times. And on the world stage, Zelenskyy's profile has skyrocketed, earning him both support and respect across the board. The rankings for happiness in both countries were sitting low in 2022, before the invasions began, though nearly equally so. Ukraine at 98, Russia at 80. The two are standing toe-to-toe in a struggle for power that could drag them under or keep them in power. Zelenskyy continues to hold strong against the ongoing Russian conflicts, keeping him afloat as Russia struggles against world sanctions and widespread condemnation. They've made less progress than expected, faltering against a seemingly stacked-in-their-favor fight. The two hold everything on the line, as the struggle could be a total knockout for either side, and we'll have to wait and see how it goes. The ongoing conflicts put this neck and neck between the two. Still, Volodymyr Zelenskyy holds the edge. His approval ratings outweigh Russia's. Despite massive forces against them, he manages to hold down the fort. Their control hangs in the limbo of these conflicts, calling it a draw. Russia earns just 2 out of 5 strawberry scoops for the opaque nature of the country's politics and record low approval ratings. In comparison, Ukraine pulls a surprise upset with 4 out of 5 scoops. He could easily retain power if the conflicts go in their favor. Conclusion: when the scores are counted and added, we have a clear, divisive winner of the fight between these two. Zelenskyy pulls a win out from Putin in 2 out of 3 categories. Zelenskyy is a fresh face to the political landscape, but an emerging leader in the face of conflict. Though his approval is high, he has the most to gain from a triumph, especially in power and politics. Ukraine is not entirely down or out, putting up an intense fight against all odds. If you like this video, leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. That way you'll never miss a World Leader Cage Match! This has been Cage Match by Neapolitan, and we'll see you next time.